Coming up today on the Village Idiom.
Joke, what is the difference between a doctor and an engineer?
What?
Doctor only kills one person at a time.
Oh, that hurts.
Did you make that up?
Village Idiom.
Hello, and welcome to the Village Idiom.
Hello, we are a podcast that takes a popular saying, usually English. So far, it's always been English. And we take a little shallow dive into its usage, its origins, but mostly we use it as a sort of a clothesline to hang our otherwise directionless conversation on.
We were going to try that or maybe do something different, but we haven't sent...
That's saying a lot right there.
Yeah.
We were going to do that or something different.
Yeah.
My name is Jurassic Mark.
I am Skinny.
And with us again is part 2 with our guest, the Daddy James.
Not just any Daddy James.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The
Glad to be
Daddy
here.
James.
The Daddy James.
Thank you for coming in a second time.
Who's your Daddy
my
James?
My pleasure. Ed. Edmund. Actually.
Edmund, really?
Edmund. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, Edmund.
Not
That's a
Edward.
cool name.
It is. No middle name, as he always says, they couldn't afford it. I don't know if you've ever heard that one.
Yeah, that's
Classic
great.
dad
Back
joke.
then.
Yeah.
What's the background on that? Is it Dutch?
Danish.
Danish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
Danish.
Me too. Cheese.
Jeez, Danish. Sometimes you get something and it's just perfect the first time. That's like a Danish.
Not that we're talking about this today, but since we're talking about dads and names, my dad's name is Ernest J, and he goes by Ernie.
Ernie J.
Always
EJ.
the third. I was supposed to be Ernest J, the fourth, and he hated his name so much. My grandpa was sad. Tons of relatives are so disappointed that my name's not Ernie.
So this is my boat.
Jurassic Ernie.
Not quite the same.
Weekend at Ernie's. I'd have to have something else.
So I'm a fourth, and my son is a fifth.
Oh.
James McLaren.
But different middle names.
All our middle names are different.
Right.
Yeah, but
but
we're all
still
James.
4 in a row?
Yeah,
Or 5 in a row.
Yeah, but I didn't want to be the guy to wreck it.
Yeah.
I'm like, let my kid
The
wreck
pressure.
it. Yeah.
But
And he
is
might.
there the point if you don't use that, that's not the name you use? So it's really just a document thing.
That's right.
Yeah, and it's actually that part.
And that is in your
it's
case,
a little
right?
bit irritating with that because you're at like
Because your middle name
you're
is
at the
Skinny.
doctor's. You're at the doctor's office, and it's James.
Oh, because you never go by it.
James.
Oh, me?
Crap, that's me. Yeah.
See,
Same
Jurassic
thing.
stands out.
Yeah, Jurassic.
The doctor.
That's me. Who names their kid Jurassic?
So I have
No, it's one of those old names.
Okay, so my kids, you know this already, but for the listeners, I don't think I've ever talked about my kids. All 3 are named after dinosaurs.
Are they really?
Get out of here. So I got a Tyran for Tyrannosaurus Rex. I've got a Trice for Triceratops, and much lesser known, my daughter's name is Leyland, which is Lealanosaura.
Which little baby Velociraptor.
Can you describe that? What is that?
Well, it's describe the dinosaur.
Yeah.
It was discovered in Australia, and it was it's kind of a cheater to name my daughter after that dinosaur because the dinosaur was named after the paleontologist couple, their daughter. So their daughter's name was Leyland. They named the dinosaur Lealanosaura, which is they were Welsh, and
Herbivore, carnivore.
Herbivore, quite small. If you can actually find any info on it, it's often referred to as the cute one, which was a little
Well, it's appropriate.
deciding.
Terra.
We thought about Terra with a silent P, but we knew too many Terras. And you know when you know someone, you're like,
Yeah.
And particularly if it's like, is there a Patera batten?
Patera.
Patera? Patera batten?
We thought about Sarah, like Triceratops, but we already had a Trice.
Is there a Brachia in there? Oh my god.
That was my
This
next
gets
boy's
worse.
name was Brack.
Yeah.
Brock
I
would be
still
cool.
like that.
Yeah, that
Brack.
would be good.
Brack.
We'd be the T-Rex.
Well, let's get today off and running.
Back to the drawing board with the words you've heard a million times before.
Let's start it off with Back to the Drawing Board.
Back to the drawing board. It's a good thing. It's a beautiful thing.
You know, I screwed up. I'll be honest. That was supposed to be our closer song. I played it first. So,
well, at least we heard it right away.
Yeah.
It's like you just jumped right
back
in.
to the drawing board.
Back
That's
to the
today's
drawing board.
idiom.
Because we've got to go back to the drawing board on that, eh?
Exactly.
Start all that over again.
Basically, back to the drawing board or back to the old drawing board is just start again, right at design level. Something a failed attempt at something. Start over from scratch. And the reason we chose it last time you were with us last week, we focused on give somebody the slip. Mostly because you work with water slides, slippery things, right?
Slippery things is my life.
So I chose Back to the Drawing Board because, as you talked about a little bit last week, you're an engineer.
Yes.
And so I know you're not an architect, but I would imagine you are sometimes at a drawing board. Maybe a computer version of it.
A computer version. But in our office, we have an entire architectural department, and they still are up there with drawing boards and markers. Hand drawing something to show to a client is like gold. Like the people in our office that are really good at it are very successful.
I can't draw for crap.
So what do you mean, like more than a computer rendering?
Yeah, the hand-drawn, well, don't you think a hand-drawn version of a water park, like a first layout on a chunk of property, if you came to a company and said, here, I've got 5 acres, I want to do something, and they returned whatever number of days or weeks later with something that was hand-drawn and hand-colored and sketched, would you not value that?
Yeah, I
Not
guess
if
so.
I did it. It's going to be like,
Vince has
look at all these crap stick figures flying off into oblivion. This is a dream.
Spaghetti?
That's how you referred to your kids' drawings.
Yeah, they get it from their dad. Yeah. It's terrible.
Yeah, so drawing boards, we have them. We use them every day.
That's so interesting.
That's fun.
Yeah.
And so all that part of engineering, I knew when we first met that you were a really extroverted engineer because you stared at my feet instead of your own.
Oh,
when
yes.
we first met.
What are we talking about right now?
He was just commenting on the social dynamics of engineers in general, which, yeah.
You knew right away.
I get it.
Oh, I didn't until the explanation.
Sometimes engineers get the bad rap of
being
a little more introverted. A little more.
When I do the Myers-Briggs, I'm a clear introvert.
Really?
No, you're not.
100%. So I think is it a 30, like 0 to 15 and then 15 to 30? Like
I don't
when
know.
You do the,
I don't know. I
with
think
your
that should
fancy
be an
numbers.
episode where we take the Myers-Briggs.
Oh, it's fantastic. You should do it. Actually, you should do it as a co-worker team. Everyone in your office should do it because you actually learn a lot about your coworkers, how they tick, what makes them think, how they react to certain situations.
I know enough about my coworkers.
That sounds like
But I'm an
great
introvert.
ammunition to like help like really manipulate situations.
That's the way you want to handle it? Extrovert, huh?
So it's funny.
I also show up introverted.
I was just gonna say I typically show up as an introvert, and people laugh at that, but I get it personally. I get it. Like
right, you like your recoil.
I remember even as a teenager, I'm like I'd rather be against the wall, just watching what's going on, but I would choose not to be. I don't come by it naturally.
Yep.
I'm in front of people a lot, but I have to choose to, and maybe that's. Makes an extrovert, but
one of the keys is how do you recharge? So do you recharge in a group of people at a party, or would you recharge at home by yourself with a book? That is one of the key definers.
Maybe not a book. Sometimes I'm a reader, but
If by a book you mean Netflix.
But my recharging is not
Cheetos.
with people. No, it'd be.
So that's exactly right. Me either.
Yeah.
Like I would rather I could be up, I could do presentations in front of hundreds of people, but when it's time at the end, I'm like, okay, I'm going back to my hotel room and I'm just gonna hang out there and read my book.
That's me.
Yeah. So that's an introvert.
Huh.
It's not about being able to talk in front of people. It's not about being interesting to listen to. It's about how do you recharge.
Oh, I could listen to your water and steel tales for hours. Because it's fascinating.
Okay, well, that's good. I thought he was making fun of me again.
No, it's actually fascinating.
All right,
I love that stuff.
Good.
No, you
Well,
were
I'm glad I'm here.
hand-selected as our first guest on
Thank you.
on the show, and we knew you already.
And from last week, you didn't give me the slip, so...
Exactly. We didn't give you the slip. In fact, we are going back to the old drawing board with you, so to speak.
Nice.
See if we can do better. Last week was a failure.
It's good, and the whole path to become an engineer is a long intellectual one.
Yeah. I mean, you got to figure out the math and the science.
So you went
and
into what type of engineering?
I actually, it's so funny. I graduated from University of British Columbia with a metallurgical engineering background.
Metallurgical.
Metallurgical.
Like that's the
can
bracelet
read
you wear.
minds?
That's the bracelet you wear when you're diabetic or whatever.
Yes, that's right. I design those on my drawing board all day long with the red cross.
It's like it goes red when you're hot or you're angry. Like
Yeah,
that.
that's right. Yeah. So it's all about materials. Material science or materials engineer is probably the more modern day terminology. Metallurgical is kind of
If you were
going
a
back.
Dungeons and Dragons character, who would you be?
I don't know what you're talking about. What is that?
Whatever.
Oh.
Engineer. I know you know.
I actually don't, but foosball. We played a lot of foosball.
That would require him being with people.
Yes.
Oh, fair enough.
A lot of foosball. Yeah, so metallurgical engineering is all about
You're an alchemist.
science and materials and steel and composites and aluminum, and why is titanium better for that than steel on airplanes? Do you know why?
Lighter.
Strength to weight ratio. That's why, sir.
Wow.
That's important. So anyway, it was about materials.
You wouldn't want to get up there with a carbon fiber.
You might. There's actually quite a bit of carbon fiber
is
on
it
the new
your-
Boeing planes.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Strength to weight ratio.
I just guessed that the strength wouldn't be there in comparison to...
It is in the right applications. And so there is actually parts being made, I think it's Airbus, where it is an entire fin
737?
section.
They weren't
it's
even.
like the
They were
A3s,
not trying
whatever.
at that name. What should we
What
call
is the
this?
worst?
We need
Airbus?
somebody really creative. Was that my
They asked an engineer, is what you're saying.
Let's call it the Quasimodo. There's a bring around for you.
I put an Airbus. Yeah, you ring the bell when you want off.
I like
it,
that.
Dink.
All the engineers voted, and that one won.
That one
Yeah.
won.
So they actually lay up, that's kind of a fiberglass term, you lay up the fiber and the resin. They lay up an entire portion of the aircraft. It's so large, they have another aircraft that they have to put the part into to fly it to the assembly plant.
Wow.
So look up,
Really?
there is an airplane that almost looks comical if you look up Airbus, and I don't know what the model is, but it's like part delivery airplane. It's enormous. It looks like a
Air
whale.
16-wheeler.
It's like the air handy
The air
dart.
semi. Yes. Anyway, that was a bit of a tangent.
That's good.
I
No,
was just,
I like it.
Okay, it's funny you just said that because I was just going to say the one engineer I kind of grew up with, and then he became an engineer. He went into structural engineering and would rattle off these things just to rattle off his homework while we're hanging out. And the word that came up a lot was tangential.
Tangential.
And like, do you ever use the word tangential?
They're delicious.
We actually do, because as you can imagine on a water slide, you're going down the slider or the raft or whatever. We use computer simulations and we're looking at the forces and the velocity.
So you don't have to have water bags. You can use
Well,
computer simulation
we
of
always
water
use
bags.
we always use computer simulations as a first step if you can. You can't really computer simulate a body slide because of the human body and the shape and the size and the stiffness and the how you all change.
and the unexpected.
Do you know like that game where you're on a bicycle and it's like all the physics of like jumps and flying off?
The app
and-
game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be a great make your own water slide game.
Line Rider.
Line Rider, yeah. Where you're like,
It's basically what it is.
Yeah, that's what we do. So yeah, but if
really
it's on an inner
expensive line
tube,
rider.
you've got a very consistent kind of material. You got the raft, and the raft friction to the slide can be recorded and calculated, and then you can turn that into a computer simulation and determine the tangential forces.
Nice.
wow, that was a huge word.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I should speak now. But I will. Having like the high education, but like engineer, doctor made me think of this joke. What is the difference between a doctor and an engineer?
What?
Doctor only kills one person at a time.
Oh, that hurts.
Did you make that up?
No.
Oh, man.
with razor blades on a water slide?
Brutal.
It's just, engineering is a riskier thing. It's more serious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
is.
because when it
People take
goes
very
like whole
serious.
bridges fall and
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I really wish you made that up. I'd laugh harder. Now it's sad and inappropriate.
Yeah.
Thanks, Skinny.
Well, you know me. Sad and inappropriate.
Hey, listen to this. Let's do this now.
Okay.
I said some words, where'd they go? Where'd they go? No one can know. I turned around and looked behind. Those words came from another mind. Origins.
Woo! There it is.
For
Let's get into the
For
origins.
you, I was playing the egg.
You're a good
Yeah,
man.
this
was a percussion.
what type of engineering again?
Metallurgical?
Metallurgical engineer also plays percussion.
Yeah, I shake eggs. I hit
I shake
things.
eggs.
Yeah.
I'm an egg shaker.
Right, I am.
Take them eggs. You won't break them.
Introvert, metallurgic. I can't. Is that the word?
Metallurgical.
Metallurg. Forget it. I'm out.
I'm a metallurgical.
We're going to look up the word origin
I
on that.
am out. Yes. Well, let's get into the origins. This one. So if you listened last week, we talked about giving somebody the slip. Give them the slip, and there was no origins. There was nothing to talk about. We had a great time. We had lots to talk about, but there was no origins other than it started in the mid-1500s. This one is possibly one of my favorite origins. It's simple. It's short. But it has a lot of times it's guesswork. It's like it might have come from this language and it might have come from this experience. It might have come from this. Let me tell you about the origins to saying back to the old drawing board. This phrase originated as the caption to a cartoon in the New Yorker. It was a drawing by Peter Arno and for New Yorker magazine in 1941. And the cartoon shows various military men and ground crew and medical all running, foot running to a crashed plane. but there's one person, a designer, with a roll of plans under his arm walking away from it. And the caption is, well, back to the old drawing board. And I'll post it for those of you, but you guys can look right here. This is the origin to our idiom of the day. Back to the old drawing board came from an actual pinpointed date and time in the New Yorker by this artist.
There you go.
That's great.
Which is super cool.
Yep. How many? So over the course of the last number of, origin stories you've done, how many have you been able to pinpoint to like that accuracy?
There's the odd one where it's like, that's in the Bible.
Okay.
Or that's Shakespeare. But
so there's a few.
Yeah, it does happen though, where it's just hearsay and conjecture and a series of maybes,
and a little bit from multi-cultures.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's cool. That's a neat one.
Yeah. It caught on quickly by 47, which is just 5 or 6 years later. It was in other newspapers as a regular thing. So here's a quote from the Walla Walla Union Bulletin in Washington. Have you ever been to Walla Walla, Washington?
Yes. Don't they make onions there? Grow
they
onions?
do, actually.
Walla
Walla
Walla onions, very
onions,
famous.
That's right. 1947 says, grid injuries for the season now closing suggest anew that nature get back to the drawing board, as the human knee is not only nothing to look at, but also a piece of bum engineering. So let's bring it all around.
That's funny.
Engineering, drawing board. So it became a regular part of the English language as an idiom, like almost immediately. It got used for any failed attempt that you're trying again.
Now, you must have some series of engineering type fail stories that you've come across in your time.
I have.
For things that didn't quite go right.
Yes.
But, so you have
Is
one
that
for me?
typically caught in the office before it becomes a thing? Like
The
your
vast
simulations?
majority the simulation, because we'll do simulations 2 and 3 times.
Is there any comical simulations where you just launch somebody?
Yes.
Really?
And it's only comical because it's a simulation.
That's what I mean, yeah.
But yes, you'll see, because it has like little stick figures in them and they'll fall out of the raft.
Line rider.
Like if they
this
get,
is
and
one
they
you
get
all
airborne.
Come here, look at that I designed.
Yeah. Okay, we won't build that one, but let's try again.
But let's watch.
But sometimes they aren't caught that soon.
Right.
And so let me walk through a little bit of the process of how a very basic water slide would be designed, and then tell you a story.
Yeah.
So a client would come to us.
I'm actually really excited about this.
Me too.
A client would come to us and say, and in this specific situation, which I'm going to tell you about the story, it was an existing facility. If I said the name, you would know it like that. So they came to us and said, we have a bunch of water slides, but we want to take 2 of them down. They're really old, and we want to replace it with a new one. It's got to start up here at this height, and we want it to end down here in this existing pool. So your start and end points are defined, which is
set,
which is really important and key. So we know that. So they come to us and say, we want to do that. And we kind of talk through water slides, the kind of the angle or the pitch of a water slide there's not a, if you have a certain kind of slide, there's a very narrow window of what, you don't.
The tangential. No.
You'll have some drops to pick up speed, but then you kind of have to compensate that with some flatter sections. So overall, there's sort of a very consistent grade from top to bottom. Sure. So if you're going to go from here to here, you're going to have to use up 600 feet of fiberglass. You just have to send that snaky fiberglass 600 feet in order to get from there to there. So we do this for this client. They come here, okay, this is what we want. So we start designing a slide for them. We go from there to there. We design it all out. It's beautiful. It's in an indoor facility. So there's all sorts of things you have to avoid hitting.
Right.
Beams, other slides, walkways.
So you're making adjustments post-design.
Yeah, well, it should be part of the design. Yeah, I mean, you want to get all that done on the computer. It's the way to do it. So, of course, one of the first things we ask the client is, okay, well, you got to send us the information about your facility. So you have drawings of your tower, drawings of your pool, drawings of your building columns, of your HVAC system, all of these things that could potentially get in the way. So they send those to us. And the first thing we do is we design the slide floating in the air. Like we just avoid conflicts or, interferences, of course, but we just design it like it's floating there. Then that's a water slide engineering function. Then it gets handed over to the next team, which is the structural team. Your buddy, the structural guy, the tangential, Mr. Tangential.
Yeah.
So he would then go and add all the columns to support this thing. So we know at what interval we have to have a support arm on that slide in order to support it. So we go up there, or the designers do, and they add arms and then bring columns down to the ground and figure out, okay, there's a free spot here. We could actually land a column, put a foundation all the way down the slide. Same time, the mechanical engineering team is taking it and saying, okay, we know we need this amount of water to get from their mechanical room, which is down in the basement over there, up to the top of that tower. And what size pump do we need? What's the flow rate for that kind of slide? And in addition to that, this slide also had a video game component built into it. So in the slide, there was, I think, 24 lights. This is Guitar Hero for water slides. So there's 24 lights.
Awesome.
And as you're going down, the vehicle you're riding on has 4 buttons, red, yellow, green, blue. And as you go under a light and it's yellow, you got to push your yellow button just as you go under the light. And we had sensors built into the slide and wireless communication between the vehicle you're riding on. Okay, so it's more than just
There's a lot going on.
Your dad's water slide.
Yeah.
So we're going through all of this. You know, the initial design usually will take 2 to 3 weeks to just get the water slide fitting. Indoor buildings, it's even longer because it's more complicated. And you do it in the middle of a field in Wyoming, it's pretty easy, not much to hit. So an indoor slide could take maybe as many as 4 weeks. Then you hand it over to the structural team, and they're working on it for probably 6 weeks in order to do all of their work that they need to do. The mechanical team's doing all the pumping and the piping, and then the electronics team is doing their thing. Then you got to make it. So the fiberglass will take 3 months to make, and the glass or the steel will probably take the same. We do a lot of overseas manufacturing, so we're making the steel overseas, and they're shipping that to us, doing the same thing with the fiberglass. There's a lot that happens before it actually arrives at the park. So months have gone by. Many dollars have been spent by the client to us, from us to our staff. So you're committed, you're invested. So I get a phone call from the company that I hired to install this slide. And they said, "The Daddy James, I think we have a problem." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? You guys, I mean, you've been there for a couple of weeks. I get daily reports. I see pictures, slides going together. They bolt it up. They're putting it up in the air. Some of the glass is even in the air already on supports. We think there may be an interference." And I said, "Oh, really? Could you send me a picture?" He's like, "Sure, no problem." A minute later, I get something from his phone, and the water slide, the open end of the water slide, is right running into a major column of the building, of the stair tower. And you look at that, and you're like, well, there's no easy fix. You're not moving the column. You can't just bend the slide. So then you start this process of trying to figure out what has happened. You go back to the drawing board. And what we realize is that when the drawings were sent to us of all of their equipment, it didn't have all of their equipment. The company that did the drawings felt, well, we thought the water slide was going here, 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 and here, so we didn't tell you what was over here. What they didn't know is that during the design process...
The structural part of it?
Yeah, well, the company that did the survey, that just kind of said, here's the map of the existing structure. What they didn't know...
You wanted to know where the columns were?
All of them. Not just a few, all of them. We need to know where they all are. And the client and us made a decision on changing the slide path, which is a very normal thing to do, and we took it into an area where we didn't realize there were columns. So it was months to now stop, take down portions of the slide, redesign the slide, remanufacture the pieces, cut clips, re-weld them on for the new support arms because everything's different. It's painful. It's very, very painful. And always when these projects are set up, it's always with an end date in mind. There's always something. There's a Memorial Day. There's a, beginning of summer. It's the Christmas holiday.
International Water Slide Day.
That's a very important one in our business.
Shucking corn, Wyoming Day.
So when you run up to that kind of problem, it's not, we're going to just be a couple of days late. Like you've just totally blown it.
Back to the drawing board. Yeah.
It's bad. So yeah, that's
so that wasn't
worst one.
That's a devastator.
I was worried that this story was going to end with launching an actual human.
No. That very, very rarely happens.
But has?
In the industry, yes, it has.
I'm not asking you to tell a personal story, but it has happened where
yes.
You've done water bags, you've done simulations, and still maybe not the first person, but some person with the right proportions and weight and structure.
If you were to look up water slide accident on Google, you would be there all day. Yeah, it's sad.
I'm there all day anyway.
Yeah, well, there you go. Unfortunately, it's sad, but yeah.
So I would imagine there's a massive cost to a correction like that.
There was.
And that would be on the client.
It was a mixed bag because from the client's perspective, really, what did they do wrong? They hired a company to send us information. They hired us to design it. There was a disconnect between those two parties.
So a little bit of both.
It was sort of a shared pain. Yeah, everyone loses in that situation. Everyone loses.
I wondered, and I wrote down a couple things. If this idiom then is ever happy, what are your thoughts on that?
If the idiom is ever happy,
because
there's a good situation where you back to the
back to the drawing board. Like, does it ever end well? It's usually some crap thing that's happened that's sending you back to the drawing board. It's not like, man, we get to go back to the drawing board.
Well, so maybe in this case. So I was thinking when I thought of, that typical slanted architecture's drawing board, two fictional characters popped in my mind. Mike Brady from the Brady Bunch was always sitting at his drawing board, even at home. He took his work home. The poor kids. He was always working. And I don't know, this is a little more obscure, but do you remember Ted Knight in Too Close for Comfort?
No.
So
Is that a movie or show?
It's a TV show.
Okay, no.
Ted Knight, comedian, actor, really dry.
Anyway, the talking car.
No, he was a cartoonist.
That's Michael Knight.
And as a kid, I always wanted to be a cartoonist. So to watch a show about a cartoonist, and he was gleefully going back to his drawing board all the time to draw more cartoons. This cow character, and so I don't know. He'd be happy if you were a cartoonist at the drawing board.
That was his happy place.
That was his happy place.
That's so right now my kid is in a engineering thing at school, and so he's just in grade 7. So it's not the end of the world. The things, people aren't flying off a water slide.
Are we doing popsicle sticks?
So we're in the popsicle stick. You got unlimited glue, like 50 popsicle sticks, and 3 meters of string, and you've got to span a 30 centimeter area. Yep. 30 centimeter area, and he's like, I think that squares are the best idea, and your answer is
triangles.
Oh, there's a bunch of different ways to skin a cat. Did you do that
we
one?
Haven't done that one
yet.
yet.
Okay.
We're going to get to that. This will be one of them.
Yeah, there's no right answer. There's all sorts of different answers. You could probably do it with squares. You can do it with triangles. 45-degree braces. That's a really important one.
45-degree braces when he listens to this. Okay, you heard that straight from an engineer.
That's important. And not a structural engineer. Like I'm not. So I might as well.
Metallurgical.
I might as well be. I don't know.
Which may include popsicle sticks and or
a care pastor for all I know about structures. But
the tensile strength of glue.
Wow.
That's important.
Yeah.
Tensile. Is that a word?
That's absolutely. Metallurgical engineering. That's one of the things we do. We pull steel until it breaks.
I had my tensiles removed when I was like 11.
Was it painful?
I haven't been able to play the piano since.
Okay.
This one's a little bit long. I know we're running short of time, but I just think it's funny, so you're going to have to listen.
This microscopic robot, or nanobot, can be injected in the human body to detect and cure cancer.
Interesting.
Wait
Can
for
it sing?
What?
Well, they got a largemouth bass now that you hang it on the wall. When you walk past it, it sings, "Take me to the river."
Are you saying?
What I'm saying is you're this close, but there's a drawing board you should be getting back to. Next!
That's perfect.
That is awesome.
That was Dumber and Dumber 2, which I realize I've never seen.
Well, I'm watching this and I'm seeing, was that Lloyd Christmas? No, it wasn't Lloyd Christmas. It was the other character.
Lloyd Christmas is the other guy. Yeah. Jeff Daniels, whatever his character is.
I'm looking at that. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know this scene. How do I not know this scene?
I know.
Have you seen it?
I have seen it, but I don't remember this.
And I haven't seen Dumber and Dumber either.
Oh, wow.
With the other actors.
That's probably for good reason.
Jeff Daniels. I had to play
Was
it.
Cam Neely in the second one too?
Is he in the first one?
He's the
hockey
trucker.
player?
He's the trucker.
No.
Really? Cam Neely.
Cam Neely.
Huh.
What's the trucker, at the truck stop and the...
Yeah.
What was his name?
Mick, Buck.
I don't remember. No idea.
Okay. Anyway,
look that one up.
All right.
One of them things. We're heading into the final stretch here.
Well, we like to play a little game called Riddle Link. The Daddy James joined us last week, so hopefully you got the swing of this.
Think so.
And you got a chance to guess next time. But basically, we take a 2-part, usually trivia-based questions, mash them together, and demand a 2-part overlapping answer. Overlapping by a syllable or a word, or if you're really good, if you're really lucky, a couple of words. But those are rare.
Here we go. I'm going to get you started with one. This is going to test both of your knowledges. So knowledgeification.
Knowledge eye.
Okay, ironic. So he was just talking about the singing bass. Cam Neely played sea bass.
Sea bass! Oh, that's it.
Kick his butt, sea bass.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so well, let's start this again, but in Atlantic City during 1920s Prohibition with Steve Buscemi.
Wow. Oh, I know what it is. So Back to the Old Drawing Board is the first half. Do you know that what's the second half of the riddle?
Buscemi.
In Atlantic City during 1920s Prohibition with Steve Buscemi.
Do you know it?
No.
It's a show called Boardwalk Empire. So Back to the Old Drawing Boardwalk Empire.
That's the one.
And testing the limits of pop culture knowledge. Wow. All right, I got one.
Okay.
You ready for this? Iron Maiden plays this genre of music, while our guest, the Daddy James, specializes in this type of engineering.
Oh, heavy metallurgical?
That's it!
Yeah!
Wow, you roasted me. I was in like Back in Black to the Drawing Board.
I felt bad because while you were telling that story, it came. I'm like,
Well, I was going to say, you must have just come up with that.
I did.
That's impressive.
Tell me again.
That's
great.
Iron Maiden plays this genre of music, while our guest, the Daddy James, specializes in this type of engineering.
So good.
He's so good.
Heavy metallurgical.
good.
How do you spell metallurgical?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm an engineer. I don't spell things.
I got people for that.
Okay, we got some F7. F7, that fixes all your spelling problems.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I know it well.
Because we had an engineer on board today, I wanted to use a large word. Anthropomorphized steam locomotive does mechanical design.
Oh my, say that all again.
Anthropomorphized steam locomotive does mechanical designs.
I don't know that first word.
No, I don't either.
It's when you take something and make it come to life.
Reanimate a zombie.
A steam locomotive.
Okay.
And a live steam locomotive. Tell me only one that you know. The only
Thomas the Train.
Ah, okay.
What was the second part?
one. Anthropomorphized steam locomotive
Yeah, okay, got it.
does mechanical designs.
Man, that's dead air right there.
Thomas
for
the
you.
mechanical engineer.
It's Thomas the Tank Engineer.
Tank
Engineer.
Thomas the Tank
Engine. Thomas the Tank Engine engineer. I
Thomas
got
the
it.
Tank
Yeah,
Engineer.
nice.
Darn it.
Yeah, that's good. You guys were on.
All right,
Wrapping them
well,
up.
I've got one more. The Daddy James, don't answer this one. Skinny, don't answer this one. But do, Skinny, tell us how people can get a hold of us. Tell us their answers to our riddle link. And more importantly, their I don't know, what can they tell us? A story about metallurgical situations?
Or other things that they're allergic to.
Okay. If you're allergic to metal, tell us.
Tell us.
It's metallurgic.
It happens.
You need some sort of Claritin, some metallic.
Benadryl.
You can reach us at the.village.idiom on Instagram or the Village Idiom Podcast at Gmail or via Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at 3 Minutes Gone.
That's 3, the number 3, minutes gone.
That's the one.
All right, here's one for you guys, for everyone to listen to. The Terminator's famous line when he starts over at a design table.
There you go.
Keeping it simple. I hope everybody
That's
gets
a good
that one.
Chime in. We'll go for speed on that one. We have enjoyed putting it together today. Thank you so much, the Daddy James, for joining us.
My pleasure.
Seriously,
That
it was
fun.
awesome.
Thank you.
It
Super
was
fun.
awesome. Great having you along, buddy.
Good to be here.
So, I am Skinny.
I am Jurassic. I'm a Jurassic case.
And you.
The Daddy James.
And these are the Village Idioms.
Well, back to the old drawing board.
Last 3 minutes gone.